Advice for someone to stop smoking. When I was a smoker, and if for those that may not know me, I quit about 15 years ago. When I was a smoker and I smoked for a long period of my life, I felt that I, I probably quit mentally in stages over time. Now, what do I mean by that? There were times, for example, if I had a really bad cold and I had on one hand the need to smoke and the other hand I felt lousy. I was congested. I mean, any smoker knows when you have a cold and you try to smoke and the smoke is going in there and you already can't breathe. You're really like pretty much choking yourself. You're really making yourself more miserable. But yet you still have that need to get that nicotine in you. It's a real miserable period of time. Times like that, I think you start to mentally say to yourself, I need to quit smoking. So you kind of have different stages like that where your mind is starting to tell you, this is just not right anymore. This isn't working for me anymore. Let's just say you were going to go on, some type of, let's say you're going to Disney World, for example, where they don't really allow smoking other than in a couple designated spots. While you're there and you're having fun, maybe you're having like a family reunion kind of a thing where, a big family's been, and your family's planned this for a couple of years, and you go there and everybody's having fun. But again, while you're there, you're not in the moment. What you're thinking about is you have to plan that next cigarette. Can I get done with this ride and end up by this smoking area at the right time so I never go to that point where I'm like, wow, I need nicotine and now I'm really miserable. So again, as another point where you mentally are starting to quit, you're starting to say, this just is not right. The same thing could happen if you had to, let's say, or for wanted to or needed to take an airplane trip. Maybe you had to fly somewhere for a couple hours, and then you had a connecting flight, and you only had a short time in a non-smoking airport. Now all of a sudden, instead of like a 2-hour flight where you can't smoke, and then the lead time before and after, now all of a sudden maybe you're pushing it to 5 or 6 hours. Now this is a real discomfort. This is like when you're in that seriously, I need nicotine kind of a feeling. Again, when you go through these processes, you go through these periods of time in your life, I think these are when you start to mentally quit. And what I mean by that is, again, you're just starting to say to yourself, I need to make this change. I see this coming. I could see myself becoming a non-smoker. But then you're kind of possibly just left with some of the doubt, like, well, how do I get there? Like, I'm on this side of the bridge. How do I cross the river and get to this side of the bridge? And it is easier than, at least, let me back up. In my opinion, when I quit smoking, I found it to be easier than what I anticipated. Now, I don't have an iron will. I'm sure there's many people have better or stronger willpower than I do, but I didn't, like, I anticipated the worst and it ended up not being as bad as I thought. There's certainly a process by which a person should follow, again, in my opinion, which can minimize some of this discomfort. It is important to consider that nicotine aspect is basically about a one day, could last a little longer, but mainly a one day event. And after about 24 hours, for the most part, the nicotine is out of your system and the need for nicotine is diminishing, and then it's a mental game. So then it's like, are you mentally prepared to be a non-smoker? And this is where I say that anything you can do ahead of time that can help you get in the right mindset, I think that's going to help you to become a non-smoker. I mean, that's probably the greatest advice I can give someone to stop smoking. Is you've got to go into it at the right time with the right mindset, and go forward. Once you've made the commitment, go forward with it, stay with it, don't turn back. You will get to a point where you will feel much better in your life. You'll feel you made the right choice, and things will be easier for you. I promise you that. Everything. That airplane flight, much easier. You're at Disney World, enjoy the rides. I mean, all these different things. The next cold you have, first of all, you probably have less colds because you're not going to be as congested all the time and maybe as run down. And if you do get a cold, it won't seem as bad. So please keep some of these things in mind. Now, with all of that said, the other thing I always advise people is I think it's always better to find a mentor with anything. If you want to learn how to paint, you want to learn how to write, you want to build a website, find a mentor, somebody that has successfully achieved and done what it is you're looking to do, and then follow that person's plan. It will certainly give you a leg up. It will give you a better chance of success. When you get to certain small roadblocks, you'll know should you go left or right. That's the way I think you approach things, and you end up with a much better result. So with that said, if you want to find out how I quit successfully 15 years ago, I ask you to just click one of the links around the video. I ask you to please like the video if you feel this was good value. I ask you to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you as a non-smoker.